Hi everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher. I still am sporting this fabulous black eye. If you didn't watch the last episode, briefly hit myself in the face with a hairbrush. Don't ask, we're gonna just keep going. I start with showing you the metal armature that I'm playing with. Nothing is set in stone, but I'm liking it. And show you the shape that I've sort of envisioned, and that I definitely love. Remember when I did the last video, The Pitfalls of Impatience? I'll post that up in the upper right-hand corner of this video. If you didn't see it, you can check it out. And I talk about how impatience leads me to do and make decisions that I possibly will regret, but otherwise wouldn't have made. Ironically, I think in that video, I'm not sure, but I think that's the same video where I square the piece. And someone very, very sweetly commented and expressed some concern that maybe I was not going to want those edges squared. She was absolutely right. I have done myself such a disservice. Squaring the top and bottom, great idea. Sides, not so much. I've created some issues for myself. It's okay. I've already got ideas of how I'm gonna deal with this mishap. But in the future, I've got, it's now on record. I'm on record. Don't true the sides. Bad idea. Top and bottom, no problem. Sides, no. What was I thinking? All I can say is that there was like this moment, and I remember when because I did the top and bottom first. And then it was like my OCD kicked in or something. And there was this, I've got to true the sides. I mean, this isn't right. I've got to true and I did it. And I don't know. I mean, it was just, this moment. Don't true the sides, Ariane. So if I do another vessel, and I hope to, but remind me, don't true the sides. God. By the way, I have the most fabulous followers. I got to tell you, all of you are so great. I am so, so grateful to you. I am so grateful to all your comments. There were so many, everybody, people were weighing in, giving me their thoughts, just sort of like brainstorming. It was great. I had so many, everyone was helpful. So for even, there were some of you were saying, I don't know if this is helpful. It was all helpful. It's always good to brainstorm, I think. And even when someone says something and I think, oh, I'm not sure that's going to work with what I'm thinking, it still gets my mind thinking in a different way. Yeah, it was incredibly helpful. So you all are so great. I feel like I've got the greatest followers in the world. All of you are so fabulous, and really appreciate it. Okay, so I think this is like, episode 6 of this series? I don't even know. I'm not sleeping well because I'm so obsessed. And that's the other thing. I get really, oh boy, I've been this way my whole life. I don't know. I keep thinking balance. Ariane, you need balance. You're getting obsessed. You need balance. And I have the best of intentions, and then I just can't help myself. So here we go. And by the way, obsession is great until it's not. And then, and then I'm thinking balance. There's no balance. I need turning it around. We're going to take a look, show you what I'm doing. I wanted to show you what I'm thinking. Here's my chicken wire, and I'm liking this chicken wire because it is so easily pushed into different shapes. But do you see the bottom, how it's not around? It's this kind of irregular. So my thinking is that once I have the shape that I want, I'm going to do a chalk pencil around something. I don't know what. I haven't figured that part out yet. Someone said dry clay. I'm going to look, air dry clay. I'm going to look into that. I'm going to look into using some of the materials I have here with cardstock. But as you can see, and this is very rough. This thing is not, I haven't, attached it yet. And it's a smaller version of what I have. But this is kind of what I'm thinking. A kind of undulating, organic, sculptural shape. Okay, back to stitching. It is on my work table. I now have a lot of stitching choices to do, so I'm going to get right to work here. It is bigger than my workspace, but it's kind of curling up and it'll be fine. But at least I can get it up here and I'm going to start stitching. I always say, go with what's easiest. I have no idea what's easiest. I guess I'll go with the edges. That's always easier. So pick an edge. All right, let's do this one. I'm going to put this camera, let's see, I'm going to figure out a way to put this camera over to the side so I'm not straddling it. Someone very sweetly sent me a link to a different kind of stand, which I actually bought. Yeah. So we'll see how that works because this is a bit cumbersome. I'm going to work on this little shape, and this is my Silken Pearl, A Woman Scorned. I always love the names that the thread gatherer owner uses. They're always so playful and they make me laugh. So I'm not sure why purple and magenta are Woman Scorned, but I totally can go with that. Not that I've actually experienced that myself, but if I had, yeah, I'm thinking that's good. All right, here we go. I'm threading it on a chenille because I know I don't. Oh, this little guy got twisted around. Let's see if I can. Oh, I see what's happening. All right, it's okay. I just scooch him down. Is that gonna mess that up? Yes. All right, I have to reposition this because this is doing some funky stuff. I'm not liking that. Oh, I see, because this is stitched down, so this can't. So here's where we start. Yeah, I'm going to cut that away. Okay. All right, let me do this first. I want that adhered, and this one, I want this adhered. And then this, we're just going to chop that away. Or do we have to? No. Okay, so I'm actually going to put a little pin here. Yeah, that's okay. All right, back we go. Woman Scorned. I think I'm going to start at this edge here, pulling all of this back. I can pin this back so it doesn't keep bugging me and getting in the way, and I have to keep pushing stuff around and all that. Just pin that away. Okay, so here we go. I think what I'll do first is what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go right along here with my little running stitch. And then, put that there. Pliers. Those are not pliers, those are wire cutters. Oops. Yeah. I always think, oh, if I just had a bigger space, but you know what would happen if I had a bigger space? I'd fill it up with more stuff. Okay. So there's that. There's that. My eye is about this color right now. It's right about that color. My husband FaceTimed me and he said, "Oh my God." He said, "It's a good thing I'm not there or I would be blamed for that." Random people on the street, you know, coming to their own conclusions, which would be completely false. Thankfully. Okay. Okay. I'm really liking how this is coming. Someone said that they weren't sure about the way I'd squared this off. But I have this very specific idea in mind. I think it's going to work. We'll see. Maybe I'm totally wrong and it won't, but I think so. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Do you see how this kind of notches? I'm going to pretend that it doesn't. I'm going to pretend that that color continues all the way down here so that I can keep doing my little running stitch. A lot of pretending going on. It's okay. Pull that through. And then I'm going to come across here like this. Someone mentioned that they said sometimes I have a hard time seeing what you're doing, but that's just me and my eyes, and I'm thinking, no, I don't, maybe, but it might also be that sometimes I just go off camera. I hate that when that happens because I know what it's like to watch a YouTube video and they suddenly shoot off camera and the whole time I'm sort of muttering on my breath, don't go off camera, don't go off camera, you're going off camera. And then here I am doing the same, and all of you are probably saying the same thing that I say. No, don't go off camera. I don't know. Every time then I think I have the perfect solution for a setup, and then it doesn't seem so perfect. We'll see. Apart from having a videographer, which, you know, that's a whole nother level of professionalism that I don't have going on there. Plus, I don't know, how would you even do that? You'd have this other person just kind of hovering. It would be like some sort of reality TV show where you're just constantly, you know, they're like following you to the bathroom kind of thing. I feel like it doesn't, that kind of thing would not work for what I'm doing. Videographer. I actually know a videographer, and that didn't work so well. See, okay, this is crazy, but I'm taking it out. I don't like that, the way it's going off. I know a videographer. He's incredibly talented. Could always call him. then I'd have this other person hanging out. And then would that influence the choices I make? You know, it would, because even though he's like this lovely, lovely, talented young man, and I know he'd be very quiet. Well, first of all, you can't just have someone doing that without paying them. So there goes, you know, I can't have this costing me so much money that it wouldn't be worth it. But beyond that, I don't think having a presence just sort of hovering would be great for the creative process. So we'll just make do. I'm trying to do this. I did Google metal armature for a vessel, and there's a woman. I got to find her name and link, and I'll put it in a text, you know, down here below. Who made this vessel out of textile, and then she brought in a big piece of bark, which she drilled holes into and then stitched. It was really cool. And I thought, that is so cool. I love that. I just love the inventiveness of it. It was a completely different, you know, she's doing this whole very cool thing, very organic, and it was really fun to watch. I just love how inventive people can get. Creative. Okay, let's see. But all the other videos, for the most part, I mean, I didn't spend, you know, hours on this, but I did spend a little bit of time. They were all about creating human armatures, which is not what I want. A couple people have mentioned that the bottom has to be weighted to support it, to hold it up, which totally makes sense. And so I'm kind of, I've got some ideas. And I think what I might do is play around with some different materials and see what happens. Someone suggested making a paper model. I could make a fabric model, but paper wouldn't undulate the way I want it to. The whole thing about the undulating is doing it it's got to be somewhat malleable. I mean, paper is sort of, but it, you know, it's not going to fold. When I was in, when I was in fashion design, we used to make paper patterns. We would make everything out of paper and put that on the form, and then we would make it out of muslin so that we could see how, you know, if there was draping and things, to get that all sort of down. And then we would adjust, and then we would make our create a paper pattern from that muslin, and then we would take that and create it, the fabric, whatever fabric we were using, and create it from that paper pattern. So there were all these steps that were made. Of course, it wasn't haute couture. That was for, you know, ready-wear. So my favorite class was draping. You would take the fabric and you would drape it over the form. which was really fun. Not easy to do well, but really fun. Okay. So I'm doing 3 kind of rows here. I'm alternating the length of these stitches because I don't want them all the same. So this middle row is a shorter stitch and the outer are a bit longer. Yeah, okay. I have some other ideas for some of this other stuff that I got going here. And then once I figure out the metal armature bit, and oh, my faux shape came in, but I don't know, I think I'm gonna just stick with the metal for this piece and maybe play with the faux shape later, you know, like test it on just some random bits of fabric and see what happens and then go from there. But yeah, it's I do want, I'm hoping I can get quite a bit of the hand stitching done today while it's still quiet, and then but I also don't want to start feeling pressured, like, you know, self-imposed timelines and all that, because then I start making mistakes. I start doing, you know, that was that video I did on impatience, the pitfalls of impatience, because the minute I start getting impatient, then I often make decisions that I wouldn't make had I not felt so, you know, the pressures that I impose, by the way, on myself. And yeah, so I'm actually going to have this go out a bit, I think. I mean, you know, why not? I love this magenta that's coming through. So I'm kind of going to go with that. So I'm going to pretend that this fabric continues and that it doesn't just cut off. And okay. And now I'm going to start to go up. Take this out. I love my little ring cushion. So cute. I also really like these little applique. These are Japanese, these little fine applique pins. If I can find them, I'll put them on the, I'll put a link for them, and a little pin cushion too. Sometimes I can't find stuff. Also, if you see this video way after, or you look at one of my older videos and you try to use the links, often their links are dead. You know, the companies change, or they go out of business, or they change links, or, you know, like the case of or they redo their website, or, you know, like the case of the Thread Gatherer. Some of my those bags and my little needle roll that I designed, a lot of the links on there don't work anymore for the various materials, and it's because they changed their website or they went out of business, or there's just a multitude. I just can't control that. Also, I've gone in and tried to update the links, and then 3 months later they're not working again, so I've just stopped. I figure on those patterns I'm doing so much more than anyone else anybody else's design, because I'm doing, basically you're buying a pattern, but you're also buying an entire workshop, because I did videos of every single kind of chapter. I put so much time and work into all of that and making those videos, and then a lot of times people don't even understand, because they're used to just buying a pattern and following it. They don't even really get what I'm doing, and so much later I'll say, well, did you follow the video I made? And they're like, what video? So I don't know, that probably was not worth it, but I was trying to do something really nice, that would be helpful. But there's a reason why people don't do that, because it's super time consuming. All right, I'm going to keep going with this, and you get the idea, but that's what I'm doing. I'm going to go through here, and I'll finish this axe, and I'll do the other couple X's that I've got, and then I'll move on and work on something else. Work on some other part of this. I've been working on this area here. After I finished the X, I actually had some extra fabric, and I was thinking of putting it here, but I'm not sure. I'm going to leave that for now and just see what I think later once maybe it's covered more like that. I don't know. Then I went over here and I mimicked this cotton quilting fabric, did running stitches in here and up the fruit, carton, did 6 and 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 wrap French knots, did some bouillon circles here, did just a straight stitch here and added running stitches here. And then I went into, so I'm sort of moving along the bottom, obviously. Then I went into here, and let's move this baby over. And I started to think about this. I punched in some of this, which some lovely, lovely person who follows me sent me. It's natural Gotland sheep locks. Aren't they beautiful? She sent me a whole bunch of stuff. And so I punched that in, and I really kind of like how that's looking. I did some more French knots sort of mimicking this pattern, right? And I think I'm just going to leave it now. I'm not going to continue. I wanted to hear this down, so I'm going to find some neutral thread, thread that up and start going in here, and I want this to be joined, right? So I'm going to do that. And then I'll start working my way over here. But this is the next challenge. I think what that's the next challenge. What I've pulled. This is no idea what that is. This is a Oriental linen from Threadgather, Aurora, Old Lace, and this is the Japanese cotton. So any of these and all of these will work, and I think I'll just thread up a needle with all of it and start playing. I'm stitching this down with some Aurora, and I'm really just tacking it. I was going to do, I had some other ideas, but in the end I decided to just tack it. And what that does with a tiny little tack is that I'm getting a little bit of that metallic glitter in there, which is kind of pretty. It's like locks of beautiful hair, Rapunzel's hair. Some of this is hard to pull through, but I am definitely the boss of this thing. This is not the boss of me. All right, so like that. I think I'll tack this little bit down too. It's a little wispy bit. I also did, I stitched down this area. I did some French knots in here, and I stitched this edge down. And then I stitched this part down and then did the locks over it, which I think worked out nicely. You can't really see much there, or really anything. Just see the beautiful Rapunzel's locks flowing. And so I think that's, yeah, that's really well adhered, and I'm going to leave it. Let's see, I did punch this part down, and I think I'm going to leave that. I went ahead and using my pearl number 3 pearl cotton from Painters, Klimt, I stitched this edge down, went into here, stitched that down, stitched all up here, and stitched here. So this is all adhered. My next thing is going to be the X. I'm going to mimic exactly what I did on the other one. I'll do again there. And as I said before, I'm sort of moving around the edge. And then, and while I'm doing this, I'm really thinking about this whole base, the armature, everything. And I played a little bit with the chicken wire, and it really is able to give me the shape I want. So that's the good news. The base is something I'm still kind of thinking about. Someone mentioned, why do you have to have a round base? Yeah, why? Exactly. Don't need to have a round base. And so she mentioned an artist that I'd never heard of, but I did Google him, and it was interesting what he's doing. So yeah, so I'm going to think about that, an irregular shape. All right, where's my scorned? A woman scorned. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start doing my little running stitch. Yeah, I'm going to go right around the edge closest to where the colors change, and then I'll go back to do the middle line, and then the outer one is the very, very edge of the fabric where it starts to where it's been cut. And let's see. There are areas that I'm going to leave clear of stitching, you know, like this. It's another thing. My tendency is to just like any area. Oh, I should put stitching in there. But sometimes it starts to feel really crowded, and I want to feel like I can breathe, you know. Okay, put that there. All right, so I am going to stitch here. My husband called. He is on his way home tomorrow. He is flying home. The plan is, I went out with my girlfriend and we came back here and I fixed dinner for us. And on her way home, she just got slammed with the rain. It was sort of torrential downpour kind of thing. Ow, downpour. Poor thing. And that was also when my husband pulled over and he had to stop because the rain was coming down so hard. So he was being careful, which I really appreciate. And then couldn't figure out how to get the key out of the ignition. Yeah. It's just kind of a comedy of mishaps. It's nighttime here, and that's why you don't hear a lot of noise. Isn't it nice? It's quiet. There you don't hear people shouting, you don't hear people honking, you don't hear lots of traffic. Even the fire department across the street is quiet. They were revving up their chainsaws. Evidently, they have to do that by law. I actually went over there and asked them because it was like, why are you guys doing this Sunday morning at 7 a.m.? And I don't think the law is that they have to do it at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning, but it is evidently a law that they have to, I guess, turn on all their equipment and make sure it's, working, or I don't know. Anyway, okay. Sad, all the fire departments in this city lost so many people from 9/11, and we were living here during that horrible moment, and they lost almost everyone at that station. It was horrible. Our windows actually looked up. Well, there you go. In the distance, sirens, always sirens, city that never sleeps. The windows in our living room looked out into the World Trade. So when the first plane hit, I saw it. I'll never forget. My husband was in the shower and I yelled, "Oh my God, they've bombed the World Trade again," because they'd bombed years before, the basement. So that's what I kind of assumed. Okay, I did change to a sashiko needle, which makes it much easier to stitch. Every now and then I have a good idea. It's like, oh, I'm doing so many running stitches. Maybe I should pull out this sashiko needle looks like it might be a good idea. But how many running stitches have I done up until this point before that thought occurred to me? quite a few, several days worth. Okay, so here now I'm going to do a final row on the outside, but you can see that even with this one I'm going into the fabric. That's okay, I'm just going to pretend. There's a lot of pretending that can go on, which is just fine. This is where pretending can be a good thing. So I'm going to pretend that the fabric continues even when it's kind of not. I'm just going to do my little stitch anyway. This one. Let's see. Oh, and you know, it was interesting. There's this part of my big piece that I've been calling abstractions. That piece, there was this. I had used a kind of. It wasn't newsprint. It was. It was the paper from a book. A book, and I had scrunched it up and layered it and stitched over it, and anyway, it was cool, but I didn't like the way it looked on where it was located. It looked like a mask. It kept looking like someone with, two eye holes and a white, mask. Like in those horror movies, the slasher with the mask and the eyeball, eyes, round circles so he can see who he's murdering or whatever. Anyway, it kept reminding me of that. Not this is not a positive thing, right? And as my girlfriend, Bobby was over, and I said, right, I feel like it looks like a mask. And she said, I hadn't seen it until you mentioned it, but now I can't unsee it. And I said, right? And she said, yeah. So I said, okay, I know what I'm doing. So I pulled it all out, and I found this rice paper, this with the circles. And I love that rice paper. It's so beautiful. And I had just the right amount to cover that area. So I stitched it down, and it looks so much better. It's like, oh, what a relief. Like I can look at that piece now and I can love it again. It was so funny. It was really bothering me. So I fixed that. And then I did some other stuff on that piece. And I have some ideas for it. So that's cool. I think I mentioned that we're going to Scandinavia. And I'm hoping, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe bring one small thing and, just a very limited amount of thread, which, by the way, would be very unusual for me. In any case, I'm thinking of doing that, and I'm thinking that maybe I'll find some interesting I don't know, something, materials on my travels. You never know. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same here on this little V with my A Woman Scorned. I'm going to do the same here on this little V. And then I'm going to tackle this big guy who's just kind of floating. I need to stitch him down. I need to go in here and stitch. See how I stitch with the white thread? I'm going to do that over here. And then I'll probably call it quits for the night. But that's where we're at. I showed you this, right? I did the running stitch on the cardstock, which was cool. I like that. And I've left this free because I'm thinking I'm going to continue it all the way up to the top. That's my thinking. I'm making my way around. So I showed all this over here. I've done this, I've added here. I was going to do this part, but then I got waylaid and I did this up here, which I'll do a little bit closer. And then I did this, I stitched this piece down, I stitched this piece down, and now I'm going to go back and do this part. So let's see here. Gotta move some of this away. I basically couldn't sleep last night because I was thinking about this the whole time. And all right, where did I stop? So I need to adhere this, it looks like. Where's my little guy? There he is. Okay. All right, I need to adhere this. It's still kind of hanging around, so I'm going to do that. Do you see how I stitched here, in here? Oh, I added some more of this little Rapunzel's hair. And I adhered all this. Did some stitching in here to adhere this wool bit down that was kind of flopping around. And now it helps if you actually knot the end of the thread. That can be helpful. As I go along, I feel as though I have a clearer idea of how to realize this. You know, it's one thing to have a vision and it's another to actualize it. And often the vision has to, you know, go through some often one has to shift the original idea. This one, I haven't had to shift the original idea yet. We'll see. I'm hoping I don't. But, you know, hoping, I don't know. I think one has to really let go of any expectations and sort of just go with the joy of this project and see where it takes you, and not, the expectations can kind of be a killjoy. I mean, it's great to have a goal, but the goal is to have a vessel. That's my goal. And not so much the exact shape of it. So that's a good thing. You can see this paper that I've added here. I'll get that down. But I want this part down first, and then I'm gonna get that other bit down with some off-white. I like the Aurora Old Lace for this. I might also get a dark color and just stitch in here, in where all these little, whatever those are, an alphabet of some kind in some language. I have no idea what language. So again, I'm just going along this big, fat bit here with my thread. So that it adheres. I can pull that pin out. Always happy. It always feels like a victory when I get to pull a pin out. I don't know, I feel like I'm getting a little cold. Not sure what's going on. And I've got a horrible headache. I can't tell if it isn't a migraine yet, but it's like on the verge. For those of you who get migraines, you know what I'm talking about. Not fun. Part of it also is I'm not sleeping much, and I've been very driven with this project. You know, there's this thing called balance. I have struggled with this concept my entire life. My tendency is to go completely all in, like off the diving board, and then get burnt out after a couple years. And because it's not sustainable. So I would really, really, really like to find that happy balance between passion, which I have in abundance, bordering on obsession, which it can be a wonderful thing, a beautiful thing, with a lot of joy. And I wouldn't want to give that up for anything. But there has to also be balance, because it's a wonderful thing until it's not. And then it's sort of, you know. So that's my goal for my 64th year. My 64th trip around the sun. Actually, is that right? It's my 65th trip. I'm turning 64 in just a few more weeks, and or a month, a little less. And yeah, so that is the goal. Have some balance. Find the balance. So the beautiful thing about this is that you can just kind of lose yourself in the flow of this. And now if I wanted, I could keep going, you know, and pretend. Pretending is so much fun. Let's pretend. Sometimes if I'm not sure, I can even do it with a chalk pencil. I don't usually, but you know, sometimes you can kind of see what you're thinking, what you're doing. Sometimes I do that if I'm not quite sure, not convinced it's a good idea. But usually I just kind of wing it. Like I am now, winging it. think once this thread runs out, I'm going to move to a sashiko needle so that I can go a little bit faster. Not that I'm in a hurry. Oh, man. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to go down here, and then I'm going to come back up. Also, I think this might be a... Is this a tapestry needle? It feels very blunt. I have to look at my stash for my 18 chenilles. I have them. I just don't know where. All right, so now I'm going to come back up around here. And oh, and I found some more rice paper. I just love that patterned rice paper. It's so cool. Some of the most exquisite products are out of Japan. They have such beautiful things. Okay, I am going to end this thread. I'm going to come around here, and I'm going to come around here and do a second line. And I think I might do another one coming in like that. And maybe this one, see how this is going this way? And I could just sort of continue or not. Or maybe I leave it until I know how I'm joining these edges together, and then do it once I've figured it out, because maybe what will happen is this is going to come over, this will come over like this and actually meet, you know, and that'll obscure some of this. I have some ideas of how to, okay, let me thread up some needles.